Kavanaugh, I don't think, I'm sorry, I don't think any of the judges actually pointed this out, but I think there's a much bigger issue, and that's the belief that conservatives can take virtually any case in the world and bring it to the U.S. Supreme Court. Like, no matter what happens at the lower court level, that the whole system is stacked in their favor because of politics. I think that's a real worrisome thing because obviously there goes the legitimacy of not just not just the Supreme Court of the United States, but the entire federal government. Uh, and let's not forget, why did the Soviet Union collapse in 1989, 1991? Very simple. The people of the Soviet Union stopped believing the U.S. in the Soviet Union. They stopped believing that that government was representing their interests or had their interests at heart, and off it went. Now that may be an extreme case, but uh, that is, many countries have fallen, many governments have fallen over the thousands of years, and oftentimes the Roman Empire fell. Basically, when we really go down history, everyone thinks about barbarians, marauding was, that's not what happened at all. The Roman people simply stopped believing that the Roman government was anything other than a corrupt mess, inefficient, incompetent, unable to meet their needs. One of which included keeping barbarians out. But there were others. Private lawyers like myself felt that federal lawyers on the other side, the U.S. Attorney's Office, their attitude was, we don't have to really brief our cases. We don't have to do anything because we're going to win at the Supreme Court. I mean, that'd be the idea that they thought that the Rehnquist court was so pro federal government that well, it doesn't matter what happens below. And worst of all, it leads to sloppy lawyering. I mean, if you believe that, well, the court's just biased in my favor, then it just invites this kind of sloppy work. Because after all, they're biased. They're just going to decide just when you're in your favor. Why do you have to work at all? You go through the motions. That's what at least that was the suspicion. Now we've got a more now there's a difference though, right? Because it's one thing to have a court that's biased for the federal government. It's quite another to have a court that's biased for a particular political party or a political agenda. But again, if there were an easier, to me like this is the hard case. That this is the one shot we got to say, I don't have any other way to win except, Judge, why don't you rule that California is not a state? And why? Because if you do, Texas is in double bind. Because if they rule that you're wrong, well, first thing, then they can't rule that you're wrong because full faith and credit applies on both sides. So any decision you make in California has to be accepted by the Texas court system. And if they say you're right, then they can't prosecute me because I'm outside the United States of America. By the way, anyone thinks that's insane, don't forget, it just would make me an American citizen living abroad. It would not end my citizenship in the United States of America. It would only end California's membership in the United States of America. A lot of evil got committed in the 1930s and 40s specifically because people insisted on following the law without questioning the justice of that law or how that law was created. What process? Was it fair? Was it democratic, ultimately? Was violence used without repercussions? All these factors should have been considered because I think we know, although that it was around 1944 that the Germans realized that Adolf Hitler was a bad chancellor, but by then it was too late. And in 1945, if you didn't you know, if you weren't prepared to die for the Nazi Party, well, then they'd shoot you or hang you. So uh, it was, I think that a lot of good Germans, we don't want to be good Germans.